This is the Milo Sweet Podcast. It's time to get clear on what you want and get there quickly. Tired of being stuck? Ready to overcome? Want to do difficult? No more excuses. Let's start now. Welcome to the show. Hey, before we get started, I need your help. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, review, and share. You really like the show? Want to put your money where your mouth is? Click donate. I would love your support. How to do difficult things. This is a topic that I'm always fascinated with. I always find myself learning and discovering new things because it's very interesting to me. And I'm not sure if it's because of my childhood or what. I learned early on, you got to learn how to do difficult things. However, some difficult things come easy to certain people. So depending on what you're good at, your skill, your experiences, your exposure, something that might be super difficult to other people might come easy to you. And some things that might be super easy to other people might be difficult. Like an example would be some people can talk to a stranger for hours and not really think anything of it. For someone else, that's like debilitating. That's like a huge thing. Some people get out of bed super cheery and happy. Other people are like freaking out that it's another day. Some people are super excited to be at home with their kids. And some of you guys are like, COVID or not. Look, it could be HIV. They're going to school. I didn't say that. For me, I'm just saying some of y'all are thinking it. I get it. No, actually, I don't. It's hard out there, though. So how do you do difficult things? I would say I'm just spitballing off the top of my head, but I think sometimes, first off, a lot of my podcasts are not planned. They're just what's randomly at the top of my mind because I actually think that is difficult to do. To get good at saying what's on your mind when you feel it and you think it, and just being true to yourself at that moment, even if at that moment, that place, that person, that thing, that action is going to make you look like a fool. Now, you should probably be a little professional or more polished there's lessons to learn. But the truth is, do you want to learn showing up as your true self, or you want to learn being a version of yourself, or what you want other people to think about you? I find there's more freedom in showing up and being yourself, saying what you actually think in the moment. Granted, there's, some decorum. There's ways to say things. Like sometimes I say things and I'm like, did I really say that? Other times I think I know how to say this the best way for the internet, but perhaps in a personal conversation, I might be a little bit more candid. So it's a lesson learned, but to do something difficult, I think it's to be honest, to be honest with how you feel, what you're thinking, where you're at, why are you thinking those things? And it's okay. It doesn't have to overwhelm you. But if it's the first time, it just might. Like, be honest, because I find that sometimes we're living life as other people, from other people's opinions, reactions, and just all these things that we're planning are not even true to us. We don't even get to the deep core of the onion layer. I mean, we're still touching the onion skin. It's not even cutting deep because there's layers to us. And as you grow and change and you have different experiences, they change as well. Some of your core things might stay the same, but honestly, a good portion of you is constantly changing and allowing you to experience these things. And it's all part of what you reach from when you go through life. So it's almost like going to the grocery store or going to a store and you're always buying things. You're putting it in your house, but you're never putting it away in the right place. You're not putting it in a way that you can use it. You're not putting it in anything. You're just having it, but you don't know what it's for. Some of the stuff has spoiled and it's garbage now. It should have been refrigerated immediately, and it's just stuff everywhere. I'm saying when you decide to be honest, you organize the stuff. You organize what people said about you that you liked. Maybe that you liked something they said about you, and actually, it's not really who you are. Like, have you ever gotten a compliment for something you don't do? I have, and it's also like awkward. I'm like, but if you really knew, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. Or I've gotten, recently this week, I got rejected for something that I was like, I don't see myself that way. So I might not have seen myself that way, like meaning, so the rejection could have been true. So maybe I didn't know I was coming off a certain way, or maybe it was just a misunderstanding, or because sometimes it's the wrong words. So the point I'm trying to make is at least show up as your true self so that you can know how to sift through the information. So honesty about how you feel, what you think about what. And sometimes if you haven't practiced saying these things in the moment, well, it's not going to come out right the first time. I've had lots of lessons in that. And then you learn from that, because you do have to be accountable for what you say and what you do. And that's hard, because there's lessons I learned. The more I talk and podcast, the more I realize, oh, shoot, I really got to be thoughtful. But I would rather be thoughtful in the moment and have a skill of being thoughtful than the which if it's fine for you if you have careful preparation. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also feel like there's a part of me, I like to have a way of being. And when I'm being that way, that is my way, I can always reach into that and have a level of thoughtfulness and care. And that's just my style, is I like to have habits, or I like to incorporate things in my life that I would like to do forever. That it's just part of how I want to be. So that's my style. But if you're like, hey, I like to take notes and write it down, and that's your way of being thoughtful, to each his own, I think that's not the point. But just as long as you're honest, you're showing up that way. Because what I did used to do was write things down, and then what I wanted to say wasn't that. And I thought, okay, this isn't working either, because it's my show, and now I'm going to show up saying things that I don't really want to say at that moment. It just didn't feel good. That's for me. Maybe for you, like, I'm glad I don't have to think about it. I don't know. So I think play around with that. But the truth is to be honest. And then I think to show up. So there's times we're honest, but then we don't show up to be present in that scenario. So when we're going through difficult things, it's easy to want to hide and not deal with it. It's easy to want to go into a cave. It's easy to want to say things like, for me, like this week with like learning different things that I could work on, and feeling some rejection. It was like, for me, it was easy because I really just wanted to know the truth and wanted to know like what I'm planning 2021, like what things I can focus on, where I need to go. And I really wanted to have crystal clear vision. So for me, it was easy. Now, there have been times 10, 15 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, where maybe hearing that comment, it would have taken me a couple days to be like, oh, okay, I see where they're going. Honesty is good, blah, blah, blah. But immediately I might have wanted to cry. Well, I didn't. And I was just like, okay, so how do I not be that or look like that? Because I didn't connect with that perception. And that was helpful for me, because I think sometimes it's good for you to understand who you are, how you're showing up, and then what it actually looks like, because that's totally different as well. And sometimes if you're showing up in a good way, it doesn't look like that. And other times if you're showing up in a bad way, sometimes it looks like you're amazing. Totally looks like, oh my gosh, you're a superhero. And you're really like the villain. I know. It was just like caught at the right time, caught at the right moment. So I would say showing up in a difficult situation, don't run. Don't run. Unless running is going to put you at a place to succeed. Like, there is a time where running is okay. That is doing something difficult, especially if you run for a long time and you get out of breath. It's difficult. Have you ever ran on a hot day? That's difficult. But don't run in the way where you're running because you're not dealing with it. Some difficult situations require us to deal with them differently, but show up to deal with it. So if showing up to deal with it is running, then you're dealing with it. If showing up to deal with it is, if by running you're not dealing with it, and next year you're going to be in the same boat 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and you're not going to really ever overcome that, to me, that's not dealing with it. Because when you run away with it, you take it with you because you never dealt with it, right? If you run away from it and you have freedom you overcome it, it's different. So I would say definitely show up and be present. Don't be present thinking, what are you thinking about what I'm saying? Be present thinking, I'm saying how I feel. I'm saying what I think. And I would say the third thing, which is actually 4 things, but I'm going to mirror these the third thing together because I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think if you want the full benefit, you should use both of them, is having perspective and being grateful. So perspective, I mentioned this before, but it's literally just putting whatever you're thinking about or whatever difficult situation you have in the middle. Just draw a little statement about it and then draw a circle around it. And then write all the angles that you're looking at it as if it's a house. So if you have a house, you walk around the house. You see the back of the house, the side of the house, the backyard, the front yard, the gate. You see all these different things. When you're in a difficult situation, it's kind of like you're being in the house. Maybe the house isn't exactly what you want. You got to fix it up, whatever. But when you actually come on the outside, you get to see it from a fresh perspective. You get to look around. You might not notice things about it. And I want you to write those things down. So in a difficult situation, you might think, I'm broke. I'm never going to be this. I'm never going to do that. How am I? Because I have this health ailment or this and that. I've been in the house with my husband. I don't know if we gonna make it. I thought I loved my kids, but I didn't know what love meant then. Anything sounds familiar? Yeah. So walk around it. So if there is a difficult situation like being broke, right? Being broke any year is like hard, but during 2020, it's hard to mentally see yourself. So it's like, okay, have I been broke before and overcome it, or had a moment like a little pot of gold? So I think there's levels to being broke too. Like there's times where you're broke where you're trying to make it meal to meal. Then there's broke day to day, paycheck to paycheck, month to month. Ever been on a month to month plan? And then maybe you got a couple months out. You're broke job to job, trying to figure out the next job. So I think there's different levels to it. But if you think, okay, well, there's something good that has happened before. How has someone else gotten through this? When you start looking at it as an idea or something in the middle of a circle, you start painting, okay, yeah, that is true that I am broke, but do I have to stay that way? I actually have a microwave, so that means I can heat my food up this way. If I didn't have a microwave or a stove, or maybe you don't have that and you have a fire pit in the backyard. You ever seen that show, Life Below Zero? You heating your food up in the pit. That's fine. It works. Honestly, I didn't realize how good and how well that worked. Because the way they heat that stuff up, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Why am I paying my gas bill? Like, I need to go get me some firewood. And they just go to the local forest and chop down wood. Obviously, I got to learn how to do that. I don't even know how to do that. But I was like, that just seemed way more convenient. I guess until I have to do it in, sub below zero weather. Like, it's like, sounds kind of easy to just press a button and say, oh, it's warm at the house. How much? Yeah, I like that. Yeah. But I think having perspective, like, about your situation, like, has anyone ever stayed broke for a life? Has anyone ever gotten out of being broke? What else do you have that's working for you that can help you move out of this situation? And draw a line from the broke circle to like, hey, okay, I want to make a line to not being broke. And I want to have, a year's worth of savings. What does that journey look like? And when I start seeing that it's a path and that there's multiple parts of the circle that you can draw, you can take a circle, draw a circle around broke, and draw a circle around success, and draw a line from that circle of brokenness to being successful. And you'll see that the circle, you can draw lots of lines from different places, from the broke circle to the success circle. So for me in my brain, that starts to show me that there's multiple paths to get there. They might all look different. And it's almost like from different parts of a house, you're walking around the house and you're trying to you're in the back of the house and you're trying to get to the driveway, right? Or you're trying to get across the street to the neighbor's house. There's different ways. There might be a different gate. There might be a different path you have to go. But eventually you can get there. And for me, that provides perspective. So then for me, when I look for literal perspective, I might say, oh, I actually need to look at other stories of people who went from broke to success. And I would just fill my head with that. Because once I get these new ideas in, I'll start to see my situation different perspective. Then there's gratitude. That's why I say they go together. It's finding things to be grateful for. Because you may be broke. You may have less than, but then who? Right? Because they're just like you might have less than. I have less than, quite a bit of people. And then there's quite a bit of people that might look at me and say, whoa, you have that? Or you can buy this whenever you like, and I don't see it that way. So I look at my situation and say, oh, wow, I'm grateful for this. I remember a time where I didn't have that, or that wouldn't have even been an option for me. So I remember the time where I had a flip phone when everybody had like a what is it called? What is this called? Like flat screen phone? Yeah. I mean, flip phone. You remember there's commercials for Straight Talk Wireless where they, it's like a contract plan. I remember when I used Straight Talk and there was no commercial for it. There was no commercial. And they offered a free flip phone and I used it because I wanted to get out of debt. That was me. Maybe your embarrassment is different, but I used it and yeah, I got made fun of, but I didn't care because I thought, well, this is my path to success for me, for my family, for my future, for my kids. And I'll be embarrassed for it. I will. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's worth it to me. And everyone has a different path. That's why I said there's circles that you can draw and you can decide the path. But you need perspective and find things that you are grateful for, things you have to offer, your values. Like there's things that are helping you stay consistent with other parts of your life. Maybe you're broke and you're really good about being healthy, or really good about being creative, or really caring, and you have just some really good values. And I think that that's important to see. Or you have great skills and maybe you just need more time for that, or a little help figuring that out. Maybe you don't have a flip phone. I mean, when I say I had a flip phone, nobody had one. And when they would say like, oh, what's your number? Let's exchange. They would like change their mind. I had a flip phone. Like can you imagine trying to text how we text nowadays with a flip phone? That was me. I would just reply yes or no. Like maybe like it was a multiple choice. Every text had a multiple choice and I would just put one of those because it was too much work to text. And maybe that's not how you want to do it. But I would say for me, that was how I did that difficult situation. And then having this perspective and will help you to like see through the tunnel, like see the light at the end of the tunnel. So now doing it once isn't enough. Like showing up, being honest, grateful, and perspective, that's not really enough. There's the consistency of it. So if it's weekly, you're setting your calendar and you're looking at this every week and taking, 10, 15 minutes. I am more of a daily habit kind of person. So I try to do things daily. It's ideal if you can write it down, but if you can't, attach it to something you do. If you make a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, you make breakfast, or you have a certain habit that you do every day, attach it to that. You're cooking a meal, maybe you have a chore, and you attach it to like, man, was I honest today? How did I show up today? Who was I? And you might not show up the way you want. That's okay. It's just being honest about it. It's not about perfection. It's just about consistently kind of asking these questions, because you'll get a real good sense of who you are. And then when you're that way, you'll also be able to understand people. I think it's very challenging to understand people when you don't understand yourself. I do. And I also think if you don't like yourself, you will have a hard time liking other people and finding things you like about them and giving people chances. And you'll also take things too harsh. Like, I think a lot of things I wear lightly just because I understand myself. So when I see certain things, now not in every scenario, let me make that clear, it's not like perfect, but over time, these patterns help me of like being consistently asking these questions, help me to have more clarity. So I'm not wearing things too heavy, right? And then, have a time when you're saying what you're grateful for. I have people that I say it with, so that is super helpful for me. And if I kind of skip it, if you don't have anyone you can do it with, there's like all you do is, it's like a schedule, a text app. And I will text myself these questions. If I am in a season where I'm like, whoa, it's been like a couple of days, I haven't done this, or a couple weeks, just life happens where you look up and you're like, okay, I'm not keeping my habits. I'll just schedule a text with these questions, and I will always open a text at some point. So super helpful. I know it's been a difficult year. For some of you guys, it's been an amazing year, but for a lot of people, it's been a challenging year. And I think this is a time for us to buckle down and figure out how to be honest with ourselves, how to show up, how to have some perspective, and how to be grateful for just making it through this year. Almost. It's still going on, guys. Almost. And for prepping our minds for 2021, because honestly, January 20th has not happened. Hashtag, I don't know. And is that a hashtag? I'm not really sure. Okay, so that's all. I think you can do it. I'm working on it too. It's not about perfection. It's just about being honest, showing up, getting perspective. I also like to say learning goes under perspective. Having habits to learn. If you're not in school, you should still be learning something about yourself and about the world you live in. That is all. I wish you well. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.